if there is something regarding Luigi's story that I think is worth talking about, it's always good to bring that up and cover it because it is the story of our time right now. I don't know what it's going to take for us to get single-payer healthcare, but I know that if and when we do get it, Luigi's actions will, allegedly, not for sure, but assuming that it was him, his actions have definitely sparked a conversation.
I didn't see anything. Ron, did you see anything?
He was, there was a guy named Luigi who did a set in Burbank on December 4th, and he was hilarious, that guy.
Yeah.
Luigi Mangione. Yeah. It's December 4th in Los Angeles, long way from New York City. That guy did a set. It was hysterical.
Well, unless he had that magic ticket from Last Action Hero when he could jump through the screen.
They're never going to find 12 people to convict that guy.
I'm just saying what I remember. The reason I remember it was because I'm like, man, it's not often in Los Angeles there's a comedian with a last name or with a name more Italian than mine. I mean, occasionally it happens, but I was like, Luigi Mangione, who's this guy? And he killed that guy. He was funny. He killed. But yeah.
Well, apparently he was having a problem with his legal defense fund. They decided to post an article of it in Newsweek, and within 24 hours, his donation surged all over. So, way to go, Newsweek! Nice. I know you were trying to bury the lead, but that you ended up making it the highlight of the entire article.
That's so, yeah. It's I mean, and you mentioned single payer, so they already shelved our single payer bill again here in California. They just did it. Yeah, like they're not going to bring it, and
you mean in blue California, you guys don't have it all together.
No, we don't. I mean, we've certainly been. There's been efforts here for like the past, I think, over 10 years. I mean, I'm aware of like 10 years, but I think it's been going on even longer than that. And the same thing happens every time they play a rotating villain. Somebody shelves the bill, and then they make this BS excuse. And then the problem is no one pays a political price for it. And, because no one wants to like, it's like, oh, well, this is a progressive. They're on our side, which to some extent I get. It's like, well, if you get this person out of office, they might be replaced with someone worse. But like the other side of it, I always tell people, I'm like, look, if the person who shelves the bill next realizes that is a guarantee they've lost their job. Like if it becomes common knowledge that, hey, if we shelf this single payer bill, next election, we're out. The voters are going to just get us out. They won't do it. They'll have to they'll have to call the bluff. They'll have to put it up for the vote so that we'll know who is who. And so I'm like, look, until somebody pays a political price, it's some of these officials I'm referring to, they're very well liked officials. And so it's a tough sell, but I'm like, look, that's just reality. Like, this isn't personal. This is politics. If nobody pays a political price, they're just going to keep rotating the villains. They've been doing it for 10 years plus. They're just going to keep doing it until somebody loses their job, until somebody shelves that single payer bill, and next election, they are out. Yeah, it's going to keep happening.
This is also part of the cult of personality problem that we have in politics. And I just laugh at people who get crazy about Trump. I'm like, look at the local level. Look at what people do there, how they fawn over their elected officials like they're a god. And that if they do anything wrong, there always has to be a rational explanation as to why they decided to do that. There has to be. And the fact is they don't want to talk about corruption, and they do not want to talk about capitalism. That's what it comes down to. They do not want to talk about the true source of the problem, because if you were to talk about the source of the problem, then you would really have to be faced with the reality of why we don't have the things that every other developed nation has. And the fact is, people are looking at Mangione's story and recognizing just how substantial of an issue this really is, how they're going to try to bury it, but I think they're really underestimating where this can go. We covered it last week, the fact that there's, actually, I think it was on Monday we did. We covered the fact that there was already one attempted Mangione copycat that went down to D.C. And this is just something that where people don't realize that once the cat's out of the bag, it's not going to go back. And Colin, if you could, there's another story. There was the one that, I think is a most.
Is there more on that? Are you scrolling or are you pulling it? What are you doing?
Yeah, no, not on this particular story. I mean, this is just a reference point that, Newsweek tried to put out there that he was suffering in funding. And then the next thing you know, his numbers surged tremendously as soon as they brought that up. And so why is Mangione's story so significant? And to me, and Colin, it's the story about the guy who went on the cruise, if you have that one, from Minnesota. And I mean, this is the reason why single payer healthcare has to happen, because stories like this are going to continue to come up and people are going to continue to point out that this is a crisis that is not going to go away. This is just one of many people who suffer at the fall, if you will, of this capitalist system. And so here we have a person, so Minnesota man wins free Norwegian cruise vacation, then catches the flu on board and gets hit with a $47,000 medical bill. Only in America, as Don King would say. If you could scroll down a little, Colin. His luck went overboard. Yeah, to talk about play on words in this article. A Minnesota man won a free week-long cruise vacation. He got more than he bargained for, to the Caribbean for him and his girlfriend, only to catch the flu on board and get slapped with an eye-popping $47,000 medical bill. Mike Cameron and his girlfriend, Tamara Masterman, won a free Norwegian cruise. Well, there's your first mistake. You took Norwegian Cruise Line from the Grand Casino Hinckley, and that set sail out of Miami, of course, on January 5th, and he told the Post. But what started as a dream trip to the tropical destination quickly went awry when Cameron on Braham came down with the flu. The ailing passenger sought treatment at the medical center on board the Norwegian Encore, which, of course, is docked out of Miami or Fort Lauderdale. It doesn't matter. It's out of Florida. And recovered 3 days later. As the couple's tour of the Caribbean came to an end, Cameron was shocked to learn he was stuck with a nearly $50,000 medical bill. I was just flabbergasted by the whole. You see, this is also the problem when you talk about the breakdown of capitalism and where we are right now. They're not even subtle about it anymore. So if he got hit with a bill for like $3,000 or $4,000, yeah, it would be insane. It would be substantial. But would it be enough to get a banner headline in the New York Post? Probably not. But when greed has gotten so out of control, so insane, that you throw bills like this at people, what do you think is going to happen? And people wonder why Mangione happened, or the story of Mangione happened. Says, I was flabbergasted by the whole thing. I guess I'm just used to the medical system in the U.S. I can't believe it happened. Well,
that is the medical system in the U.S.
That's your first mistake there, pal.
Well, he obviously has, stateside insurance, and chances are when he booked this cruise, they didn't get whatever the travel insurance or the other stuff. And of course, their policies that are here are going to find reasons to not pay his claim based on that. But yeah, it's another way. It's just Norwegian Cruise Lines capitalizing on no healthcare. And
maybe this is the biggest misnomer of them all. The bill came as a shock, as crew members assured him not to worry about receiving treatment.
And you are right, Teresa, and I agree 1,000%, which is why I do not cruise. They are giant petri dishes.
Petri dishes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I try to avoid them. I went on one not too long ago, and it was a weird, basically my parents got this crazy deal for a cruise along the Mexican Riviera. And it docked out of my neighborhood. So they were all excited and they were like, oh my God, we got to go. And I kind of didn't want to, just because it was a cruise, but I didn't want to be the Debbie Downer of the group. So I said, okay, we'll go. But I get dizzy on them too. I get dizzy on it. I basically, it's just hey, here's some really good food and vertigo. For
we call that seasick, right? We call it seasick.
Well, I never got sick, but I got.
You don't have to actually puke to have seasickness. It's not only puking.
All right, well,
but it sucks. And
there's nothing worse. I won't go. I don't cruise for a myriad of reasons. But
no, I cruised a number of times when I was young, but I haven't done it in a very long time, and you're not really missing anything. Now, if you want to travel, you travel. And I understand that, cruising can be appealing for a lot of people, especially when you're on a budget and you want to be able to see places. That's understandable. But there's also a lot to be said for the environmental damage that cruising does, the amount of disease that gets spread.
Oh, it's gross.
Yeah, it's really not that safe. And so this guy gets sick and he's thinking everything will be okay. So the kicker of the finality of the story is that he didn't just get hit with the bill. They maxed out his credit cards first.
Jeez.
So they took his money.
What kind of treatment was this guy getting that it was that freaking expensive?
He recovered for 3 days in an infirmary with the flu. Like, what could be such a big deal?
Well, this is like asking, why do members of Congress, like, why is Nancy Pelosi able to trade millions upon millions of dollars in stock when every time it's proven that the reason she's doing this, you've got Senator Mullen in Oklahoma, you got all these guys, they do this shit. And it's obvious that they're trading on inside information because something significant happens that affects the market. Shortly thereafter, their stocks go through. So it is a level of greed that is just, it's end of empire type of greed because it's so public. What ends up happening, it's kind of like the Super Bowl. There's a lot of people who have lost trust in professional sports. They just look at it as, well, this is all rigged. This isn't real. So why should I participate? Why should I ever get involved? Why should I ever believe that what I'm seeing is legitimate? And when you get to that point, that's a very dangerous place to be, I believe. So how much longer it's going to last, I don't know. But I would be very skeptical of that. And this is a very dangerous time. And that's why I said to Jen, it's not going to surprise me in the least if there is going to be some type of a copycat situation. That's the biggest danger.
Oh, there'll definitely be attempts. Yeah. I mean, I think it's safe to say, like, there's no doubt because every day more and more people just have nothing to lose.